Chapter 577. All Worlds a Stage Part 1. The sphere of light turned into a gateway, which apparently led to another dimension full of stars and planets floating in the middle of space. A monstrous creature emerged from the portal on top of a fiery beast, turning the joy of the worshippers into terror. The rider stood slightly over 2 meters tall and was covered in thick curved black scales. Both his hands and feet ended in razor-sharp claws enveloped in black flames. A set of upside-down membranous wings came out of his back, producing with each of their flaps a gust of wind strong enough to rival with the outside storm. His face was a black slate with no nose nor ears, but his 7 eyes made everyone recognize him on the spot. Each one of the 6 eyes on his face burned with a different color of mana which emphasized his pitch-black vertical pupils. The 7th one on his forehead was deep blue and without a pupil. "Isn't that the All-Father?" everyone asked while staring in horror as the scales over his mouth opened, revealing a mouth full of fangs and blue fire. The killing intent the rider and High Mount emanated made them unable to move or even to aver their gaze. Shivers went down their spines and the warm air inside the church became so cold that they could see their own breath steaming. "Silence. You have relinquished your gifts, your free will, and your life. You have no right to say my name. Food doesn't get to talk, it only gets digested." The portal behind the All-Father closed, and all the shadows in the room came to life, overwhelming their owners. The worshippers were soon pinned to the ground by a distorted version of themselves. The dark forms had their faces twisted by an insatiable hunger, bright yellow eyes, and a white maw instead of a mouth. "Fenrir, devour them," he ordered to his steed, a huge beast resembling a divine wolf. Its shoulder height reached 2.5 meters, 8 feet 3 inches, making its rider's head almost touch the ceiling. Its whole body was covered by a flaming red fur and enveloped in a deep blue flame. It erupted with greater intensity from its neck, making it look like a mane. The monster had 2 curved horns coming out of its forehead, right in front of its ears, eagle-like feathered wing coming out from its back, and its tail was made out of dancing blue flames. Fenrir's howl made the ground quake and cracked the church's walls like they were just made of sand. All those trapped by their own shadows felt their strength being sapped as small spheres of light came out of their bodies and moved towards the All-Father. Aelia and Pelion were watching at the show from a surveillance mirror. They recognized the spell as what Diraniel had called Demons of Darkness. It was a variation of spirit magic they had never seen before. They had yet to make a move because their minds were frozen in a stupor. Everything had happened too fast and at the worst possible moment. They had no spell at the ready, and facing one-on-one an Emperor Beast wasn't a nice perspective. Yet they had no choice but to act. If the Church of the Six collapsed, people would let themselves be healed, making it impossible for them to trigger the third IRA. "He's not the All-Father, but just a pretender. We know it well because we are the sovereigns." Aelia and Pelion appeared from a warp steps. They unleashed a blinding light that dispersed the shadows and freed all of those present. "Really? Wasn't that just a spell? Didn't you just come from a common room?" The All-Lith laughed, unleashing a Tier 5 spell while Protector did the same. The 2 awakened had nothing to counter such a sudden and powerful move, so they blinked to safety. "Where the heck are you guys? We need help," Aelia yelled at her communication amulet. Everyone was now free to look around. Nothing in her demeanor or looks was very godlike. She sounded afraid and she was using a pricey yet common tool. Pelion quickly cast a Tier 3 stream of lightning bolts while emitting a powerful blue aura. "Air magic? This is insulting." Protector sighed. Even when he was still an evolved monster, air and fire were his natural elements. Manipulating them came as easy as breathing to him. He had over 30 years of experience with it and 5 more since he had evolved into an Emperor Beast. By combining his will with Lith's, they didn't need to make a single move. The closer the lightning bolts came to them, the smaller they got, until they disappeared in a puff of smoke. "Nice trick. Do you work at birthday parties too? I'll show you what a real god can do." "Fenrir, attack," the All-Lith said, making Protector snarl. He hated corny speeches and even more getting hit in the reins by Lith's clawed feet like he really was a steed. Yet he didn't complain and directed his fury against the 2 awakened by unleashing the Tier 4 spell Flaming Tornado. Using its light as a cover, Lith gave Protector the convened signal and breathed into it a burst of origin flames. Thanks to his elemental mastery, Protector made it so that the origin flames were stuck in the eye of his tornado without them damaging their surroundings. The air element amplified the power of Lith's flames, whereas the fire element of Flaming Tornado was sacrificed to prevent them from spreading outwards. The resulting effect was akin to a fire pillar produced by a Balor, but entirely made of origin flames. The blue pillar destroyed everything on its path, making stone evaporate and turning wood into ashes. Aelia and Pelion used their defensive amulets, conjuring a barrier made of pure mana to shield themselves from the attack. Yet no matter how much energy they poured into them, the boosted and focused origin flames were eating at it with a speed visible at the naked eye. The amulets became hot due to the stress their pseudo-core was under. Lith and Protector were doing their best to make it look easy, but neither breathing origin flames non-stop nor keeping them under control was a simple feat. "We need to get away," Pelion yelled as the flames started to get past the barrier and ate at his enchanted clothes. "How do you propose to do that? If we lose our focus, we are dead." Aelia's prayers were answered by 2 warp steps opened by their companions, who pulled them back to the safety of their room. "Damn," Lith said. According to his plan, the other 2 awakened were supposed to try and attack him from behind, where Freya was ready to ambush them. Unluckily, even the most perfect plan doesn't survive contact with the enemy. Cowards, show yourself, he said while both he and Protector used invigoration to restore their strength. Plan B it is. Freya warped outside and then walked through the main door, enveloped in a golden light like a hero from the legends. With each of her strides, the shadows which had just started to come to life again screamed and died. 8. All Worlds a Stage Part 2. Begone monster, you don't belong in this world, she said while pointing her rune-covered rapier against the All-Lith. The golden light pushed the shadows back and made the killing intent which had oppressed the worshippers until that moment disappear. It is not by my will that I was summoned here. I only answered the call of humans who want to pay me tribute. The All-Lith replied. Tribute? You steal their freedom and treat them as nothing but food. Freya couldn't believe that she was actually following Lith's script. Foolish girl, the same could be said of all religions. The All-Lith and his steed charged forward. Run away, I'll hold him as long as I can. Freya flew forward, slashing against the rider. Her rapier produced a silvery sound as it clashed against the All-Lith's arm. People stared in awe as the small figure managed to stop the two monsters alone. Many of them knew Freya and despised her for being Viscount Crame's henchman. Now their eyes were filled with tears of gratitude and their hearts with admiration. We should have never doubted our mages, many said while helping those who were too weak to get up on their own due to the emotional rollercoaster they had experienced. Suckers, Lith said with a wide grin as Protector continued to step back, pretending that the fight was balanced. Is there something you can't do with those holograms? Freya whispered while making sure that her back prevented the spectators from seeing Lith's human arm appearing where her blade made contact with it. I wish, I can't hold on for long. It was a lie, only his eyes were covered by holograms, making them appear as if they were opened. Lith had simply reverted his arm to its human form upon contact. They kept fighting spell against spell, claws against blade. Every of their move was dramatic and heroic, to the point it looked like an epic battle straight out of the legends. It was all staged, of course. Their spells were flashy, made to appear powerful, but had no substance. They were weaker than first magic, barely a light show. As soon as everyone got outside, the three mortal enemies stopped to plan their next move. I'd say that the Church of the Six is done, Freya said as both Lith and Protector reverted to their human form. Ryman purposely produced a flash of light to blind her long enough for Lith to build and destroy a hologram that could cover his transformation. Indeed, I was expecting them to attack us during our little play, but they seemed to be otherwise occupied. Ryman pondered while using air magic to reproduce the sounds of a heated battle and witty one-liners. At this point, they have no choice left but to activate the arrays now. Even if some of the spell's foci are out of place, they had enough to spare in case something happened. Lith used his army amulet to make sure that Plan C was going smoothly. A yelp and a no accompanied an explosion big enough to make the whole building crumble. The alleged monsters had allegedly been defeated. The crowd still around the church exploded into cheers and applause as the three walked out of the debris. The mercenary, the ranger, and the hunter smiled at their audience. Lith even raised his hands while holding Ryman's and Freya's before giving those present a bow, just like they were actors. The cheers and applauses intensified. Good gods, how did you become a man who can see a whole city almost ripped to shreds and joke like that? Freya angrily whispered. For them, as saving their city might be the most important day of their life. But for me, it was just another day's work. Lith's reply earned him a nudge in his ribs from both of his partners. We have no time to waste. According to General Vorg, they must be at the center of the array. If even Plan C goes awry, we're screwed. Freya chanted her spells with astounding speed, urging Lith to do the same. This time, the awakened would be prepared and have the home advantage. Lith chanted gibberish, giving Solus the task to provide for Plan F while he took care of Plan E. He had to keep them both a secret, or the others would never let him hear the end of it. I'm completely against Plan E and I wish you to reconsider, Solus thought. This time it will be 3 against 4. 4 versus 4 at best, if we give away your existence. But what if they have prepared more arrays? I'm not going to risk the life of any of you. You mess with the scourge, you get buried. Period. Lith ended the argument before it even started. Ryman opened a warp steps leading to their destination as soon as the chanting ended. Dimensional magic was mana expensive and Freya was the only one among them who wasn't an awakened. She is the weak link. I have to make sure that nothing happens to her. Freya is a good person and I don't want to see Lith experience any more grief. The next time he snaps, it could be the last one. Ryman thought. The warp steps led them to a spot far enough from the array's epicenter to not make them visible with life vision, but close enough to check their surroundings for traps. All clear, Lith said after performing the array detecting spell and using both his own and Solus's mystical senses. Same, I can't sense any suspicious sound or smell. Ryman found the lack of enemy traps disturbing. He had checked for undead, explosives, and even hidden soldiers to no avail. They flew toward the center of the array and soon they were able to see 4 figures high in the sky. The 4 awakened moved rhythmically, using invigoration to conjure more and more world energy. It would ensure them the successful activation of Third Eye even if they lacked a few focal points. Due to the temporary relief from the storm, people might have left their homes. The 4 were arranged back to back in a circle, covering all the possible directions their opponents could come from without leaving a blind spot. They are here, Banyo said. Things couldn't have gotten any worse. With only 4 of them, Third Eye would take a big chunk of her life force. To add insult to injury, the makeshift addition to the ritual would ensure its activation, but they were likely to lose the grounding array's effect and even more life force in the process. I hope there is a special place in the afterlife for idiots like you, Kieran. She inwardly cursed. Let them come, ready on my mark, Alia said. Her face looked like it had been chiseled in stone. She had sacrificed too much to allow anyone to stop her. All of them knew the risks involved when they had accepted to become awakened. Back then, however, death seemed something distant, whereas now it was waiting for them around the corner. Now, at her signal, a golden six-pointed star appeared in the space between them. It soon grew enough to cover all the space around them for over 100 meters, 328 feet. Silverwing's hexagram was one of the most common training routines for awakened ones. 4 of them could cast it quickly and suppress any enemy thanks to invigoration providing them with endless mana. Lith's group suddenly lost their flight spell and gravity did the rest.